Alright, thank you for deciding to watch this video, and I'm hoping that I can get some answers to my question, possibly links to help prescribe this. This is just a simple question about something I don't quite understand and haven't been able to find an answer for. On August 21st of 2017, there will be a solar eclipse, um, and basically, if we go down here, we can see the eclipse path. Shadow is basically gonna move across like this, across America from the west coast to the east coast. Now, as many of you know, the moon rises in the which direction? Like the sun, we always think of the moon as rising in the east and setting in the alley. It generally rises either north or south of east and sets either north, south, west. So basically, long story short, it rises from east to west. And if we look at this here, you can see this is the Earth rotating, and it rotates from left to right. America north on top, south on bottom. America goes from left to right. Here is a scale of the Earth to the moon with the distance to scale. And here is an animation demonstrating how it roughly happens. So I'm going to go to this here. This distance is not to scale. Or, it might be, actually. I mean, it's definitely not the distance to scale. It's the size is maybe off. I don't know. But anyways, just for simplicity so I can move these around to demonstrate my point, I put this real close. So first thing I'm going to do is take the Earth here, and I'm going to rotate it as you would see, which would be like this. So you can see as the Earth's rotating, as America peaks over the left side there, this is us seeing it rising in the east. And then as America then moves across the screen and goes back down, we would see it setting in the west. Now you'll notice that assuming the moon doesn't move in this case, the shadow is starting on the east coast and then moving to the west coast, which, you know, you're like, well, what's going on there? That doesn't make any sense. And so yeah, as I continue to rotate it here the right direction, you see it rises in the east, sets in the west. And the shadow, and like I said, it's all just for demonstration, really. And then if we take the moon and we move that in the path it moves, which is going to be roughly like this, from left slowly to right, then you can see how the shadow actually follows the path you think it would follow. But the question is, this is what we're seeing if we imagine this rotating like this. Even though the moon is slowly rotating, in one day it's safe to say that the rotation is definitely not going to affect how we would see the shadow. So if I then move this like this, you can see that if I move it in the right direction, that at no point does the shadow start in the west and go in the east. So if it's here, the Earth would either have to reverse direction in order for the shadow to move like that, or of course the moon would have to be the thing that moves faster than the Earth does to get that effect. So I don't know if it's got something to do with the perspective of the sun and the Earth being in between it or what, but that's basically my question. I hope that somebody can watch this whole video and understand exactly what I'm asking, and just basically, you know, explain to me how we can have an effect like this, where it's moving like this, and you can see there America at the top here shooting across, and get something that appears like this. You know, when technically speaking, if the Earth is going in this direction, shouldn't it come from the other way? But yeah. Alright, I want to start by thanking you for taking interest in this second half of the video. This is purely my own take or theory as far as an explanation goes. I'm going to try to go through this as fast as possible. Like I said, you don't have to watch this part, think it's crazy, whatever you want, but it is definitely interesting when you look at it like this. I'm going to try to be as quick as I can, but starting off, you can see this picture, you already know what I'm talking about. And just try to hear me out for a second. This is a dome-ish representation of what the Earth would look like. And basically how it works is you have the sun moves around its pathway and illuminates certain portions of the Earth, and that gives you the day and night cycle, etc., etc. If we then hop over to this video here, this is a visual representation of how an eclipse would work on this model. Basically, we go back here, you can see the sun and the moon both rotate around the Earth. as I just explained, except the sun actually rotates faster than the moon does. So every once in a while you would get this where it crosses paths, and if we look at it, you can see that assuming the moon is in front of the sun, it more or less gives us the same effect in the sky. If we hop over to my model here that I made in this program, this is where it gets interesting with the shadow phenomenon, because in this model the Earth doesn't move. The moon does still move, but it moves slower. So as you can see here, if I take the moon and I move it, and it basically starts from roughly over here, moves around a rotation path like this, rises in the east, sets in the west. So we'll set it right there for an example. And the sun does the same thing, rises in the east, sets in the west. But as I pass it over here, you'll notice that as the sun gets behind the moon and the shadow comes into play, we get that movement that we are going to see on August 21st, where it starts from west and goes to east. And this is a perfectly good explanation. So on the globe model, the only way to explain this is to say that either A, the Earth doesn't rotate as the moon passes over, or in Layton's terms, the moon would have to rotate faster than the Earth for it to give this phenomenon, or B, the Earth would have to rotate in the opposite direction. And the sun more or less stays put during this whole cycle because of, it's a 365-day thing. Whereas on this, it's a more valid explanation. Of course, like I said, this is a theory. Many of you know that I strongly believe in this theory. But assuming that the Earth isn't moving and that this is indeed where we live, and, just by this demonstration, you can see that as the Earth as the sun, goes past the moon making its rounds, we get that same shadow effect that we would otherwise, not really be able to explain, I think, on the other model. So just assuming that I don't get an explanation for the globe Earth model, I want to say that, this is definitely very interesting. At the very least, somebody has to admit. And keep in mind, none of this is to scale. Just like with the globe model, this is just purely for demonstration. Unlike the globe model, the flat Earth theory does not have any set dimensions that are known, because at this point we're not 100% sure, how far away things are, how big they are, etc. I do thank you for entertaining this idea, though. I do hope you at least enjoyed watching this, and I do look forward to seeing any possible explanations for the globe representation of the shadow phenomenon. Thank you.